Joint meeting tonight, a special meeting of the Board of Finance with our guest boards with us, the Board of Selectmen and our Board of Education. Again, thank you. This is a very important meeting of many, as we know, coming up on our budget season, so we want to get as many people out here as possible to hear our discussion and certainly have room for asking questions. So before we proceed, if everyone could rise and please join us in the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first item on our agenda is roll call. Board member Joe Bissett for Board of Finance is excused. Ted Dumaine? Yep. Travis Irons? Present. Don Cavella? Here. Scott Charwood? Present. David Saros? Present. Gary Stallimore? Present. And also let the record reflect, Gary, you do have, Scott, you do have voting rights today if we were to. Thank you. Next, looking at the acceptance of our minutes from the February 21st, 2018 meeting. We did have a slight amendment to it, and I know everybody got a copy of the amended minutes. So at this time, I would ask, is there any discussion, any questions? Okay, we have a motion for the acceptance of the amended minutes. Do we have a second? Second. Okay, we have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Minutes are accepted. All right, item 3 on our agenda for this evening is new business. Discussion for the Board of Education, Board of Selectmen, and Board of Finance on our upcoming fiscal year 2018-2019 budget proposals. So the way this is going to work is we are all here, of course, tonight to work together as our respective boards here and basically try to get a feel for where we are at right now in the process with the budget process. And this is something that we're going to be, again, revisiting. But we wanted to take this opportunity and give ourselves, as the 3 boards representing the town of Plainfield, to come together and be able to clarify or ask each other any questions or concerns we may have at this point in the game. We all know that this is nowhere near finished. There will be more cuts that will have to be made. And we know that it's going to be a very tough road ahead. But what we don't want to do is we don't want to have anything that's unclear or not quite sure what the Board of Selectmen is proposing, what the Board of Ed is proposing, and what the Board of Finance is looking to propose and support. So this is an opportunity for us to clarify that amongst us board members, to ask a question or just ask anybody if we can clarify any of the points in which we're going to go over. But one thing to note is that this is a special meeting, so whatever is discussed here on this special meeting agenda, we have to stick to it. We do have afterwards citizen participation, so there will be an opportunity for anybody in the audience to ask a question, make a comment or concern, but it needs to be very strict as far as gears toward our discussion this evening. And everything's going to have a time limit because we do not want this, of course, to go on forever. So please be very clear. Also be very loud, and so everyone can hear what the question is as well as the answer. And one of the things we've done is provide the mic, so if there's any board members here who have an answer or have a question and need to utilize the mic, please do so that everyone can hear it clearly and we can get a clear answer on it. So before we go into the Board of Finance, which I know has a couple questions, I wanted to also praise the Board of Selectmen and Board of Education and thank them for being present tonight. Also thanking them for their efforts thus far. Even though we're nowhere near the end of the process, even so, a lot of effort has gone in by the Board of Education and the Board of Selectmen to even get to where we are now with the budget proposal. So I personally want to thank you thus far of what we are here to review and what we are going to be proposing. It's a lot of work and it's excruciating because, again, there are things here that we may have to cut that we definitely don't want to, that we need, that are essential to the town. But we also all need to work together because we all are part of respective boards for one town, and we need to work together as a team on that. So before we get into any questions or answers, I wanted to give the opportunity, starting with the Board of Education, to highlight any points they would like to at this time that may clarify some questions up front of some cuts that have thus far had to be made in going forward.
Good evening, I'm Christy Haskell. I'm the chair of the Board of Education. Thank you for all being here in attendance. Thank you for holding those meetings so that we have a chance to have open communication regarding the budget process. Starting fiscal years as the 2017-2018 budget, it was extremely difficult because we were facing a year with the necessary cuts, and we had cut $696,000 as requested, initially changing our initial 2017-2018 budget. Just in this past year, we've experienced difficulties beyond that $696,000. But we've had a number of teachers retire. We've had teachers out on long-term illness. We've had paraeducators that have left the district, custodians that have retired, resigned, security officers, and in addition to our Family Resource Center, which had lost its grant and then ended up getting its grant back. I know that it can be confusing to see us currently hiring when we have a budget year, but I just want to stress that these were positions that were vacated during the school year. With that being said, you can't say to the kids that are in these classrooms, you don't have a teacher. You have to be able to hire a teacher to maintain that classroom. You have to provide the services needed to the children that need them for paraeducators. We have to clean our schools. We have to replace those custodians. With that being said, we have made a number of cuts, and we sustain those cuts. However, I know that there may be a concern that we've made some hiring choices. I know that we have the Family Resource Center, which is 100% grant funded. So while we did hire a new director, because when we lost our grant, the other director of the program found a position elsewhere, and the 2 staff members we had found a position elsewhere. So we were able to hire a new director. We were able to hire 2 new staff members, but those have no taxpayer implications since it's a 100% grant funded program. In addition, we stayed within our commitment that we made to keep, making sure that we meet that $696,000. I have to praise our administrators and our teachers for working and our paraeducators for working in the conditions and working just really with that mindset that we have to keep our schools going forward, but that we have to stay at a budget freeze, that we have to come in on budget. And it's been a very difficult year. It's an unprecedented year. And I just want to stress to the Board of Finance and the Selectmen that the Board of Education has taken that very seriously, that we are, working very diligently, that we have that commitment to the town, and we are meeting that commitment. Going forward to the fiscal year 2018-2019 budget, we know that it's going to again be possibly a very difficult year again. We were very conservative in our budget. The budget that you received tonight is basically coming in at $35,071,582. And that's initially, we need $150,000 of cuts. So that number is lower than what we were initially. We were initially proposing $35,221,582. And since we initially proposed that as a board and we looked at that, we need an extra $150,000 to bring it down. Basically right now, it's a $215,000 increase over the previous year, that being 2017-2018. We also estimated that we would lose the special ed, a little extra of the special ed excess aid. So that was, we accounted for an extra loss of $56,000. So right now, the general fund contribution would be $267,021, which is a 0.62%, not even a 1% increase. And I stress that this is conservative because This year, we had a number of challenges. We had $400,000 just in contractual salaries at 2%, which is a cost of living increase. We had each of health insurance contributions, which had to go up by $280,000, which I do believe is less than, we're putting in a little less than what they had initially anticipated, what we should be putting in, but we felt confident that that is within reason. We also had an increase in special education costs and magnet school tuitions that were $200,000 extra. So all in all, that's an $880,000 increase. That is really contractual. These are fixed costs that were increased. So to say on behalf of my board and just the hard work and the diligence from administration, from the superintendent of schools, from the business office, we're coming in at $267,021, so a 0.62% increase. In addition, we have a number of cost offsets. We tried to also think creatively. So part of the way that we were able to mitigate that cost is we're also looking at bringing in a program to bring into district to operate on the second floor of the Early Childhood Center. And that program would be roughly about a $200,000 offset, which allows us those children that go out of district for special ed services because we can't meet their needs in district. With this program that we're bringing in, we hope to be able to bring some of those children back, which will offset those tuitions that can be very pricey. That will offset the transportation, but provide them a high-quality education and allow them to stay within their own community, which also opens up other avenues for them for sports participation, for extracurricular participation. So we tried to think creatively there. We also did make program forfeitures, which in your packet you'll notice programs like the CNA program that we were hoping to bring in district. We've decided that cannot happen. In addition, you have just on the last page of the packet that you received in your Board of Finance packet from us. You'll notice we also did delayed French at the middle school. One-to-one technology at the high school has been delayed a second year. Stuff like behavior management positions going forward, where we eliminated those. Secretarial support, custodial support was cut. Capital improvements have been reduced. You see a number of things that the Board of Education considered to kind of make this 2018-2019 budget possible. We also increased class sizes. Our average class size is now 23 to 25 students per class. That's pretty much at a maximum of what our classrooms can handle. We also are proposing stuff like for the high school an activity fee to help offset some of the activities in the sports program. So every child coming in will pay an activity fee of $150. And that activity fee will also offset their graduation requirements 4 years later. But the money that's generated from that will help for the sports and some of those programs as well. So that's walking you through initially some of what you're seeing in our budget. In addition, we did meet as a Board of Education and look at contingency programs, a plan that could be in place in case there is, it is determined that there is a state funding, a compromise to state funding. But at this time, it is not programs that I would be able to recommend. It would be a detriment to the children's education if we were to look at these programs and to implement this cost contingency plan. So I would only recommend doing that in the case that we do lose a significant amount of state aid.
Christy, thank you.
Thank you.
I would now like to recognize the Board of Selectmen. And just to mention from the other night at the Board of Selectmen meeting, it was mentioned, as I do concur with, as many members of the Board of Finance concur, that again, a lot of work has gone in, particularly by Kathy, thus far, especially with dealing with her recent injuries. Got to give her credit, as well as the rest of the Board of Selectmen, and our Kelly has also been spending a lot of hours working on the budget. So I just wanted to give this an opportunity, Kathy, if you had anything you would like to add on the work done thus far.
What I'd like to do is just go through the reductions that we've done this far. And then what I would like to do is have Kelly go over some of the numbers. So right now, what we've done is we had a total net reduction of 590, 199. So with that cut, it's a mixture. It's building and grounds, we cut disposal $4,400, our supplies expense, we've cut $11,602. Tech services, we've cut $1,000. From the assessors and the tax collector, the assessor was $2,800, tax collector reduction $23,415, because we are not hiring a full-time tax collector. If need be, we will fill the spot with a part-time. So that was a big savings there. In our highway salaries, we had one more position that we needed to fill that we will not fill. That was over $55,000. We've cut from motor fuel and vehicle $5,850. Recreation, the head of recreation, because of the position being open, we have decided to fill that with a part-time position, which saves us almost $25,000. Summer transportation, there will be no summer transportation except for transporting the kids to the swimming pool and for field trips. So that saved us a little over $5,800. Because of the daycare closing, that's a $220,000 cut. Our swimming pool, $9,000. Supplies and expense, again, is almost $1,500. Our insurance, we had a savings of $17,000. Unemployment, $61.42. Postage, we took out $5,000. We've cut our computer expense by $23,580. Low SIP, $87,982. Retirement payouts, $27,000. Our debt, $54,761. Tech services, $33,997, for a total net reduction of $590,199. But then, again, we only have a savings of $17,465 because of our salary additions. So again, because of contracts and, well, I'll go through the list. So salary additions, $45,707, $47,290 is the new union contract. The net police department, $17,472. Highway utilities, this covers the bus garage and highway garage and bus, $3,000. Animal control, $10,367. Pension is $100,000. Medical, $93,602. Social Security, $12,766. Office supplies and benefits, $22,000. Purchase services, over $20,000. Police lease, and that's the first 3 years, $15,000. The highway lease, the last payment for the highway lease is $59,868. And then the MRSA grant is $144,803. So again, the cut is $17,465, which Kelly can go through more of our cuts and where we've reduced and what we're at finally.
In the town budget, I just wanted to review some of the revenues so you guys have a better picture of the revenue and where we're coming at. Right now, we're losing in local capital improvement. Like Kathy said, it's $87,000 from the state. The state pilot, about $39,000. We're assuming that elderly tax relief is going to be gone. It's not funded yet for the current year, and I don't think it will be funded. So that's going to be an estimate of $108,000. It's still mandated by the state, so you still have to give them relief, but we will not get relief from the state of Connecticut. It'll have to be absorbed through the town budget. We have an additional municipal revenue sharing revenue, 144, which Kathy mentioned, which is highway items that we could purchase. And another item that was on, that was never finalized this year, was the hospital property tax, so we're not gonna receive anything for that. We have an advantage of our investment interest is going up, 75,000 estimate. Interest and lien on back taxes will be going up about 50,000. And then the one thing that I worked closely on was the tax collector in town. We did this new back taxes. We collect every year in back taxes. In the current year right now, we have over 400,000 back taxes. So what we thought we would do, we would collect the money in the year that we could use it, instead of having the money go to the fund balance. So we estimate 425 for next year. We're gonna have another tax sale, and that we feel we could totally come to 425,000. So this will alleviate some of your mill rate. What else? I guess those are the big items. Right now, with the proposed budget on both sides, we have property tax levied at $28,242,731. So it's over $1 million increase for property tax. So that's a mill rate of 29.49. Granted, it's down from 29.92, but it's going to be an increase to the, due to revaluation. Revaluation this year, about 73% of all residents in town, taxes went up. So that's a high percentage. On the average, I think it was 9% was the average that their taxes have gone up, between 9 and 15%. So if you want to maintain what you're paying right now, you're going to have to look at a mill rate of 28.36. And that's pretty much it. All the cuts that Kathy discussed are in the budget and the increases.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Kathy. Okay, so at this time, now having heard the summary from Board of Education and Board of Selectmen, I'm now going to call on our Board of Finance. This is an opportunity to ask any questions that we may have thus far on what we have reviewed. I'd like to start off by recognizing Scott Charlwood. Scott and I have been going back and forth about a couple things, some very good questions, some of which might have already been answered, and that's great, because that's, again, the hope tonight was that we could possibly get some of our questions answered, possibly even before asking them, which is great. But if not, I would like to give Scott the opportunity first, and then it'll be open to anybody else in the Board of Finance to ask. So, Scott?
So Kelly, for us to get the 28.36, how much money would we have to drop out of the budget?
Can you use the mic, please?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
It is on.
I said, Kelly, if we have to get to 28.36 for the mill rate, how much do we have to cut out of the budget?
I want to say it's 1086. I'm just trying to find it.
Is that what's on the bottom there?
Yeah.
You increase the 108 to 6.02?
Yeah, that's it. That's the number. Yep, that's the number.
I just wanted to be sure. So then this would go to both the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Ed. Has anybody approached the unions about not taking pay raises?
From a Board of Education standpoint, because those are negotiations, that is something that does have to be addressed in executive session because of the confidential matter of negotiations. But I can tell you that the Board of Education is doing everything we can in our power to take into consideration the town's plight and what we are dealing with. But that is not a question that I can answer just because of the sensitive nature of negotiations. It does have to happen in an executive session.
Has the town gone to the unions as well?
I'm actually in conversations with the unions now.
Since going through the Board of Ed report, looking at the health insurance, from the year FY 16 to 17, your increase was 79,000. Then from 17 to 18, your increase is only 65,000. So why the 258,000 this year in the increase? Why would you think it would go up so high?
We've been working with our E-chip involvement, and we've been holding our insurance rates flat, as I believe Ms. Dashon knows from our perspective. We've been holding them flat. And talking with our consultants, they decided that we're not funding enough into the E-chip pool. We currently maintain about $1,300,000 in that pool, and they feel that for us to be at a safe location to cover what they call insurance runout, enough to cover 3 months of insurance payments, we should add about $250,000 to $300,000 more to that pool. So therefore, we need about a 7% increase. We've held our rates flat actually for the last 4 years on the Board of Ed side, with 1 year actually being reducted, just to try to give our employees a break. What was happening is our utilization, which is the usage that a person incurs after they made their insurance payment, is creeping upwards, so it's eating into that fund balance that we have. So that's what we've done. We've gone at the recommendation of our consultants.
What would happen if you didn't?
Actually, I don't know, Mr. Ashon can.
I'm on the E-chip board, and that's our self-insurance, and it's like five other towns, I think, entities that are in it with us. You can't go below the threshold, they will kick you out more or less. You will be no longer in the pool.
So you agree with 258,000?
Yeah.
Just asking, because it was weird how
Yeah.
it was slowly going up, and then all of a sudden it skyrockets.
Yeah, once you have a numerous number of claims, it does eat your account away.
Okay.
So you have to refund it, yeah.
Can you go through what the 81,000, the 91,000 capital improvements are? Because on the back of the capital improvement sheet, the list you give us is like 910,000, this is down to like 91. So do you know what that 91 comprises of?
I don't have that other.
We were told that this was a summary meeting, so I don't have my 100-page document with me because we were told it was a summary meeting. I do know that when we look at our capital improvements, we also are looking at to do a facility walkthrough each year. So some of them, some things that may be on there are things that we've noticed that needed to be handled. We also have that 5-year plan, and it may be something that if we were to postpone it, we're putting more of a liability of the cost increasing later on. So there is a certain amount of maintenance that goes into our capital improvements.
Just my one last question is, I noticed on the town one, which we just got today, is there's $260,000 in for the backhoe.
That backhoe was put in the budget for last year, and we didn't do it. So what we've done is we've tried to put money aside for it, but again, that is not the full amount of the money. And again, if we cannot afford to do it, we will not be doing it, just like we're not doing it this year.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. We'd now like to open it up to other members of the Board of Finance for any questions, comments.
On animal control, where's the big increase there, 221%?
So what happened with animal control, I know me, as a Board of Finance member, again, I remember when we were gonna go to NECOG. And what happened is, the money got taken out of the budget because we were going to NECOG. And then that never happened, so now we had to put the money back into,
To end the current year in the black.
We are working very hard and absolutely. We are monitoring our budget, we are monitoring our line items, we are discussing them. And right now, we are working very hard to end it in the black, and I can tell you that I certainly think that we will.
Same question for the Board of Selectmen. You intend to end the year in the black?
yes, we will.
What was the half a percent?
Pardon me?
What was the half a percent? Point four.
On the plus side,
Zero, no, on the minus side.
or you won't make it, is what you say, you'll be in the red.
No, we're not gonna get it right, right?
No, make it the red. Do you intend to be in the black at the end of this fiscal year?
Yes, we do.
Have you hired any new employees since July, including replacements?
We've had to hire one replacement for our monitor for the pool who moved away, so we did have to hire.
That's the monitor that works the Friday holiday, Friday holiday.
Well, he had worked at the rec center Friday, part-time Friday and part-time Saturday, and he moved away, so yes, we did have to replace him.
You haven't had any other new hires anyway?
No,
How about the assessor's office?
Oh, she was here last year.
I was gonna say, she was here
Yeah, she
before
was
I
here
was
last
here,
year.
Ted.
She was here last year.
We hired her this year, right?
No, last fiscal year. She was here last fiscal year. I didn't tell you the employment date, but she was here. Yeah.
Okay, how about the tax collector?
Nope, there's no one down there. Linda's down there with Karen. They've been here forever.
Just two?
Yeah.
We're not gonna put the half in.
We might put the half in, because we have to see when, the collection comes in, like, she might be, July and January are crazy months, so she might need somebody to fill in those 2 months, that's it.
Okay, the budget on the highway employees, how many people does that include?
That includes 9. We will not be, the 10, we will not be hiring the 11th person.
So your budget reflects the salaries of just those 9.
10. There's 10 employees there now, Ted, so that's what it
Was
was.
one of them a new hire?
Yes, I'm sorry, that was a new hire.
Okay. This board was looking for a freeze. I'm not sure you're doing that. Do you think you are?
I believe we are, Ted, yes.
By hiring a...
We're $600,000 down, Ted. And the only way anything can be purchased right now is it has to come through the finance department or myself. There are certain things that we have had to replace. The heating system at the rec center broke. Our sprinkler system here went down. We had to put it out to bid. So there are things that we have had to replace, but when it comes to spend on frivolous, we are not spending.
Okay, so you are in a freeze.
Yes.
Where did you get the money to replace the heating system at the recreation center?
Part of
What line
that,
item?
part of that, we took out a LoSiP that we had. And the same thing with the sprinkler system, Ted.
And I mean, 100,000 for the dehumidifier?
That was prior year. That was actually when I was still on the Board of Finance, that was approved.
But that was approved only for the 1 year. How do you carry it over into the next year? Don't you zero out the books?
No, you have to accrue it. You can accrue an expenditure if you go out to bid for it in that fiscal year, you can accrue it for that year. So like go out to bid for something in June, I accept the bid, I can accrue it for a June purchase, because I accepted the bid.
Did you go out in June or July?
Yeah, we went out.
You went out earlier
Yeah,
and did not accept the bid.
then I went and pre-bidded,
And then you bid it
I bid it
in the
again.
current fiscal year.
Yeah,
So because you bid it in last year's,
we were able, yeah, I had the, okay, I showed the auditors and stuff, and it was a clean cut.
And you were actually on the Board of Finance, Ted, when that was approved.
yes, I was. But I thought when the year ended, the money goes back to the
No, not if
the
you-
fund balance.
Not if you.
The money was approved, yes, I agree with
Yeah,
that. We
that's
didn't
the-
spend it.
No.
Typically, when money's not spent, it goes back into the general fund or to the fund balance. In this case, it didn't.
No, not if you accrue something. Like I accrued salaries too, like payroll. Payroll may not get paid until July, but it was, you did your time in June, so I accrue that. I accrue it back.
Let me make sure I understand this now. To get to the 28.36, we need to cut $1 million.
Correct?
How much is 1 mil?
It is $957,589. That's a collection at 97%.
Yeah. Okay, so that would, we would have to not cut that, we would have to increase slightly over 1 mil. All right? The 2836 would go to 2950 maybe.
What are you comparing?
You have $1 million you need to cut to cut the 28.36.
Yeah.
I don't want you to cut that.
Oh, okay.
What are you gonna raise the mill rate?
What do you want the mill rate to be? You don't want it to 28.36, you want to, is this what you're saying?
I want to incorporate the $1 million. How are we going to incorporate the $1 million at 28.36? We're not going to. So you'll have to increase the mill rate.
Yeah, exactly.
Otherwise, when you
It's
increase
right here.
the mill rate-
Right now, 29.49, 29.49.
Okay.
Yeah, it's right here on the second page.
Now, you talked about collection. The collection rates for the town, typically we use 97% as the collection rate.
Yes. And we
In the
always,
last 4 or 5 years, we've collected 100, 100, 100, 101.
because of back taxes.
We've never, and that included the tax sales,
Yeah, back taxes.
back taxes, penalties,
Right.
so on and so forth. All that money went into the fund balance. Now, somewhere along the line, the Board of Finance accrued $1 million to offset the lack of revenues for Board of Education.
Correct.
We took that out of the fund balance. The selectmen went to our attorney to get an opinion as to how we should pay that back. The method this board came up with, we would put about $500,000 a year from the tax area. That would be a straight shot from the tax collector right into the fund balance. What we're doing now is we're going halfway and we're diverting that back into the budget. So how can we now make our commitment?
Well, when that commitment was made, I didn't hear that it was from taxes. I heard whatever was left over in your budget would go into the fund balance. I didn't hear the term taxes.
Okay,
So
but
that's, yeah.
the bulk of leftover is taxes.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Maybe I didn't make it clear, but, okay, you've answered the question.
Okay, thank you, Ted. Any other members of the Board of Finance? No? Okay. Would also like to give the opportunity to the Board of Selectmen and Board of Education at this time. If there are any questions or clarifications on anything that we've discussed, if they would like to ask it at this time.
I think everything's been answered.
Okay.
One more question.
Oh, you do, Don? Okay.
The ECS grant on the school budget, and we have to give for ECS revenue for bid. We just implemented it. And if you think
My number that I use, the 13 million, is the state number that I got from the state budget, with all my other state revenues. That is given to you by CCM in the state of Connecticut. Those are the numbers we've always used.
Is that the
Those are the
governor's
numbers.
budget?
That is a part of the governor's budget, yes.
See, we don't include the government holdback number in our number, because we go to the State Department of Education, and they give us the ECS number to use there.
What happened if you don't get it?
If we were to use the number that's on here, it would put us below our MBR, which other towns right now are currently looking at below their MBR, and they were given a very hefty penalty by the State Department of Education.
Please correct me if I'm wrong. The MBR will be reduced by the amount of revenue that's reduced. That's what will happen.
The NPR is the state legislative adopted budget. It does not take into consideration the governor's whole.
Don, did that answer? All right, any other questions, comments at this time?
What is our mill rate at this last year? Mill rate? Does anybody remember?
You said 29.92, Phil.
Yeah,
29, yeah.
That was
yeah,
last year?
it's 29.92, yes, current
Okay,
budget.
that's what I wanted to make sure.
Yeah, the current budget.
Current budget, all right.
Is there additional revenues that we are receiving that are we below, are we above for our revenues for next year? What the projected revenues are?
Below, I have us being below the current year. But the problem is you guys have, like, when I looked at the school budget for 17-18, you have ECS number at 14 million. And as far as I know, we're only getting 13,000,003, so that's $1 million difference, so I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was asking town revenues.
Oh, town revenue? Yeah, town revenue is gonna be decreased roughly by I would say 250,000 if more. And I'm predicting there'll be more cuts coming, so this is not the end of it.
And that's taxes taken in and businesses and.
Oh, yeah, that's the grant list, the revaluation, that took that all in consideration. And the bulk of the grant list, oh, God, residential went up 9%, the commercial only went up 8%. So 73% of our properties have increased, and 70% of our grant list is taxpayers, not businesses, so.
Are all the interest rates on our debt fixed, or do we have a couple variable rates?
No, all fixed, everything's fixed, yeah. It's just the amortization schedule is all set.
That-
Yep.
Okay. Then the school bond project that
Yep.
shows going up by, just under $200.
Yeah, it's all fixed,
All right.
yeah. Yep.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Going once? Going twice? All right, at this time, I will consider our discussion amongst the Board of Selectmen, Board of Education, and Board of Finance concluded on that item, which then brings us to citizen participation. So this is an opportunity, again, for anyone sitting in the audience to ask a question directed at anything that we discussed, any questions that we inquired about. Please introduce yourself, your name, and speak up if you need to. We could probably send one of these down to the end of the table, but please speak up so we can all hear you if you have a question. So I will now open the floor to citizens participation.
Robert Colley, Warrior, Connecticut. I'll be brief. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Thank you Kelly, for mentioning the revals. I've been trying to listen to the past meetings. It seems like a topic that's not really been addressed, and it's real. I mean, according to my numbers, I looked at the town hall as well and the assessors. The 9% is the number that I found out too, the increase. Mathematically, a 9% decrease from the 29.92 to keep it, we'll say even, would be a 27.23% mill increase. Decrease, I'm sorry. You're proposing 28.36, which is automatically, and I don't know, Mr. Dume was suggesting, I know in the budget, 29.49. So just to keep in mind, if you go with the 29.49, already, that's a 2.2% mill increase on the get-go. Just to keep that in mind, which I'm sure you are. So, and I know that, it varies on households, as far as this 9% increase, I know me in particular was right around that area. My senior citizen parents was almost double. No changes, but let me regress. So I just wanted to keep that in mind. I hope you guys remember that as well. As far as the budget items, I know we'll have the town meeting. I just always, we're dealing with a town right now, the statistics that I have, that has in 2010, we had 15,405 people. Right now, and from the statistics I got from the clerks, we have 15,077. So we lost residents. We're down 300 or so residents. Our median household income in 2011 to 15 was around the 60,000 range. The data that I tried to find, the median household income was in 2016 is 58,000. So you're just keep in mind you're asking for these increases from these people, okay? The only budget item I was thinking, as far as I always like to keep an eye on, I know the police. We loved our police. I'm so glad that we decided not to add on at this budget time another officer. Our police chief, great guy, great people. But we got to keep an eye on this. In 11 years, 64% increase in his salary. He went up $41,000, almost $42,000. Not saying that he doesn't deserve it. I'm not saying that, but we love our police, but we got to keep an eye on things like that. On the education side, I think it was Mr. Charwood. Did I say that name correctly? Thank you very much for bringing up the salaries, and as far as the education side, I don't like to bring that up. I believe that everybody deserves a great deal amount of money, but it always seems to be this mystery with salaries. I believe it's close to 80% of a school budget. But we talk about school repairs and we talk about activity fees and saving this. We never, it seems to be such a hot topic. You can't talk about salaries. And I know that you brought up concessions, and it's always a mystery. I always think that we need more transparency. What are our administrators making? We see it in the town side. Why does it have to be such a mystery, and have there been concessions? I asked that at the town meeting last year. I left an open-ended question. There was no answers, and I don't know what type of concessions, why it's a mystery, why it has to be such a difficult thing when you have a portion of the town that is around 58 and hasn't changed pretty much, and we can't have an idea or a discussion just to talk about it. I watch your meetings and I look, the only thing that kind of offends me is because you talk about taking from the children. It's not, we don't do that. We're just taxpayers. We don't want to take from the children. We'd like to see more things given to the children. But when 80% of the budget has to do with salaries and money, that's the only thing. And I appreciate your time. I'm sorry to take so much time. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for citizens' participation? No? Okay. Thank you very much for those who participated in citizen participation. This is something that, again, we will be revisiting many times as we have a meeting coming up next. Our next meeting is Wednesday, April 4th, 6:30 with the Board of Ed. It's on our budget calendar for those of you who are interested. And also want to thank the time, again, from those spent with the Board of Education, Board of Finance, and Board of Selectmen this evening. And feel free to also, anybody in the audience, feel free to tag any of us afterwards and get our contact information, because again, there's some questions that you may have had, you may not want to ask, may not have been answered tonight, but we do want to be transparent, and we do want to make sure your questions are answered. I appreciate bringing up very valid points that we need to be thinking about, that we need to consider if we haven't already. So thank you once again, and at this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. All right, second. Okay, we have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Very good. Meeting adjourned.